Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw was from the O2 Arena in London, England, and this is the last week that we're going to be getting early Monday Night Raws. Of course, next week they are back in the States. Same for SmackDown this Friday, but it was, good while it lasted for these weeks with Monday Night Raw and SmackDown overseas. But Monday Night Raw tonight, I thought it was a good show, in my opinion. I thought this show is building toward WrestleMania good. Thought the build during tonight's show was better than what we've gotten in the past weeks of the show. Of course, we had another John Cena and Cody Rhodes face-to-face. This is the last Monday Night Raw that John Cena is going to be featured on before WrestleMania. And we had the New Day in action, and they have taken on the return of New Catch Republic, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne. We had Gunther in action, and he have taken on Jimmy USO. We had the Judgment Day in action. We had Balor and Dominic. They have taken on Bron Breakker and Penta. We also had the main event, which was for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky defended the title against Rhea Ripley, with Bianca Belair being the special guest referee. And we also had a face-to-face between AJ Styles and Logan Paul. And I'll get to explaining what happens, what happened after, because this came out after the segment was over, that involved Adam Pearce going on social media and announcing this. But overall, Monday Night Raw, good show it was tonight. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with John Cena. John Cena made his way out. Of course, the fans were booing Cena there in London. And of course, they were singing, "John Cena sucks." So John Cena held up his towel that said, "The last time is now." So Cena ended up making his way down. He got into the ring, started pacing around the ring. He was sneering toward the crowd, and it looked like he was going to say something on the mic, but he got interrupted by Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion. So Cody Rhodes came out, of course, London, singing along to Cody's theme. They let out their "whoas," of course. So we had Cody Rhodes end up getting to the ring, and Cena was circling around Cody. And of course, the London crowd was doing the Cody Rhodes chant, "Cody, Cody Rhodes, Cody, Cody Rhodes." So Cena looked all disgusted as he was listening to the fans sing, to Cody Rhodes, which that made me laugh with the look on Cena's face. Like, he was like, "What the fuck?" So Cena ended up approaching Cody, and he lifted the mic. Cody cut Cena off. So Cody ended up saying to Cena that we had to listen to Cena talk for 2 weeks. Cody ended up saying that he's going to do Cena's job for him. He ended up saying that Cena is going to cook him and end him. So Cody ended up asking where he'll start, and that there's so much to make fun of. He ended up saying, for starters, he ended up admitting that he has a little bit of a lisp. So Cody ended up growling, "Stardust." Yeah, I can't believe he ended up mentioning Stardust. Yeah, we all want to forget that. So when Cody ended up mentioning Stardust, that led the crowd to chant Stardust. So Cody ended up saying that Cena has to be bothered that he'll be battling Stardust in his final WrestleMania match. So Cody ended up saying that he has an arm tattoo, but it's on his neck. He ended up acknowledging the red hot crowd, because they were still singing along, Cody, Cody Rhodes. So Cody ended up saying that he got booed in a company he created. Of course, mentioning AEW, Tony Khan, which that was not the only one that was mentioned here in this promo. So Cody ended up saying that he knew Cena wouldn't bite on any of that. He ended up saying that he's struggling with the idea that Superman is really dead. So this led the fans to chant, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." So Cena was shown putting his head down, and he shook his head in disapproval. Cody then ended up saying that brings him to his next point. He ended up saying that Cena's words haven't matched his actions. Cody ended up saying that he thinks Cena has lied to the audience for the past 2 weeks. He ended up saying that he knows Cena cared about him at one point, but he knows for sure that Cena cared about the crowd. So Cody then ended up telling Cena to tell the fans, really, why? So the fans ended up chanting, "You sold out," to Cena. So Cena got on the mic. He ended up saying that he won't reduce himself and punch down to Cody's level. He ended up saying that Cody has been protected long enough. Cena then ended up saying that he also isn't going to cook Cody, and that he's going to bury him, just like he buried everyone else. So Cena ended up saying that the fans have been saying for years that he buries talent. So Cena ended up saying that he doesn't bury talent. He goes on to say, "I am talent, and I bury mediocrity." In all those years that people are saying, John Cena buries, people, he ended up, going to say that, he only buries mediocrity. So Cena ended up saying that he doesn't care about Cody's lisp or his failures. He ended up saying that Cody has manipulated his way to the top of this business. He ended up saying that Cody's ego outmatches his ability. Cena ended up saying that all Cody has done is ride the coattails of his success. Cena ended up saying that he has been so great that the WWE had to hand the heartbeat of this organization to his Schaefer. He ended up saying, "Cody Rhodes, your champion, is nothing more than my Schaefer." So Cena ended up saying that Cody is a slimy pickpocket who thinks that he can run the kingdom because he stole the blueprint, and that is Cody Rhodes' why. Cena ended up saying that Cody, with the undisputed WWE Championship, disgusts him. He ended up saying Cody sat by him for years and stole every secret he needed to be undeniable, but he's still underwhelming. Cena ended up saying that he tried to drill it into Rhodes' egotistical skull. Cena ended up telling Cody to be authentic because they can see through a phony, and Cody didn't listen. Cena ended up saying that Cody is too perfect, polished, and rehearsed. He ended up saying that Cody relies on lazy gimmicks, like the crowd singing his name to get by. Cena then ended up saying that Cody is like the Pied Piper, because it took a catchy tune into loving mediocrity. Cena ended up saying that strip away the music and the entrance, and there's nothing to look at except a pinstripe suit. So Cena ended up telling Cody, "You could walk me out here in silence and bet your last dollar that I would body you before your first breath." So Cena ended up saying that Cody doesn't look like him, act like him, or work like him. He ended up saying that Cody doesn't even act, look, or work like himself. Cena ended up saying that after all these years, Cody is afraid to show who he really is. He ended up saying that Cody instead gives a generic mix of every superstar he's ever loved or TV show he's watched. Cena ended up calling Cody a big, confused blob. Cena ended up saying that Cody is like a 16-year-old kid taking acting lessons who is afraid of public speaking. Cena ended up saying that Cody has shown him only one thing: someone mediocre wearing something meaningful is enough to trick these people. Cena ended up saying that he has worked too damn hard to make that title a symbol of mastery, to have it paraded around by a paint-by-numbers, sociopathic Nepo baby who is so into himself he had his wrestling gimmick tattooed for the world to see. So Cena ended up saying it's not where his tattoo is, it's what his tattoo is that exposes him to the world for who he really is, a common fan like the crowd. So Cena ended up saying that after WrestleMania, it'll be great for Cody. He ended up telling Cody to go straight to Fanatics and buy a toy belt. Cena ended up saying that the last real champion is taking that title home forever and exposing Cody for who he really is, an errand boy who got lucky. So Cena ended up saying, there's your why, pal. So we got some explanation from Cena there, which that was pretty good. So Cody ended up saying that Cena may be right, and he may be chosen. Cody ended up saying that does Cena know who chose him? So Cody ended up asking, can you say the name John Cena? Or was it one guy in an office who chose you who is not here anymore and we don't talk about? Of course, Cody was mentioning Vince McMahon right there. So we got a mention of AEW, Tony Khan, and Vince McMahon all in this same promo. And both John Cena and Cody Rhodes were spitting facts here throughout this promo, which was great. So Cody ended up saying that Cena can strip everything away from him. He ended up saying to Cena, who the hell knows who they are? So Cody Rhodes ended up saying that he is a wrestler, like his father before him. He ended up saying that if anyone is a company creation, it's John Cena, not him. He ended up saying that everyone is so terrified of Cena on the mic. Cody ended up saying, I'm not, because I know you've got more dick in that promo than you do in your jorts, which was hilarious. And Cody ended up saying that Cena wants to make fun of him for appearing like a 16-year-old taking public speaking lessons, while Cena hangs out with Zac Efron and wishes he were 16. So Cody ended up sarcastically thanking him. He ended up saying that Cena claims to have created this, as well as Cody himself. Cody ended up saying that all Cena did was create a lot of disenfranchised fans who made it easy for him to pack up and go elsewhere. He ended up saying that Cena should not act like he left WWE better than he found it. So we had both Cody and Cena, they were standing in the ring. Cody ended up saying that he's going to act something that'll punch a hole in all that logic. He ended up saying between the two of them, who sold out to The Rock? And of course the fans chanted, you sold out to Cena. So Cena ended up pacing the ring, and Cody ended up saying to Cena, John, you're still my hero, but you're also a piece of shit. So Cena looked down and he was smirking. He was like, yeah, I know. That look on his face was like, yeah, I know I'm a piece of shit. I know. So the crowd was chanting piece of shit to Cena. So Cena ended up saying, Cody is just like all the people. His brain is filled with feces and not facts. He ended up saying that he's worked 100 times harder, and never once was he protected from a crowd or a superstar taking their best shot at him. Cena ended up saying that every time he steps on the canvas, it's an invitation for any arena or superstar to take their best swing to see if they're worthy of putting him in the ground. And Cena ended up saying that no one is worthy. Cena ended up saying that he decided to do it himself and that he has never left. He's always been here. He ended up saying no matter how high the hill is to climb or what garbage they give him, he finds a way to make it great. So Cena ended up saying, you had to leave because you realized that your best can wipe my ass. He was talking about Cody. Cena ended up saying that he's made empires for billionaires, and all Cody ever did was steal money from their kids. So then Cena ended up saying to Cody, see you at WrestleMania, champ. So Cena ended up going to leave the ring. Cody ended up stopping Cena. Cody then ended up wanting to remind Cena that in all the time he's been here, never once has an audience chanted at him, you can't wrestle. And yeah, that's true. You know, there are at points where fans would chant, you can't wrestle to Cena, especially if you watched ECW One Night Stand 2006, where he was in the match with Rob Van Dam, where, you know, the ECW fans, which were hardcore fans, end up chanting, you can't wrestle to Cena. So Cena stood on the apron, and we had the London crowd chanting, you can't wrestle to Cena. Cena then got into the ring, and Cena prepared to square off against Cody. So we had Cena end up going to leave. Cena then turned around, and he took a swing to Cody. But Cody ended up ducking, and Cody ended up dropping Cena with the crossroads. Cody ended up standing over Cena, and he pointed at the WrestleMania sign. Cody picked up the Undisputed WWE Championship and also Cena's hat. And he ended up throwing the hat on Cena. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But overall, this was a very good segment here. This was fantastic between Cody and John Cena. They both were spinning out real facts, real things, and the crowd just ate it up. And from this segment here, this promo, WWE has upped the ante of their feud. So pretty much, you know, Cena ended up giving an explanation, you know, as for, you know, his why. And he still hasn't mentioned addressing anything going on with The Rock. So, but overall, this was a great segment. Really enjoyed it. And like I said, this upped the ante for their feud and their match going into WrestleMania. And then we had The New Day. The New Day ended up coming out, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Adam Pearce ended up coming out to the stage. He got on the mic. He ended up saying that he told The New Day they have to earn a WrestleMania opportunity. So Pearce ended up telling the crowd to welcome back Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, the New Catch Republic. So this was the first match, New Day versus the New Catch Republic. And this was a good match here. Tyler Bate returning ever since he was out with a torn pec since last July. You know, it was good to see Tyler Bate again. And him and Pete Dunne, you know, they're good together. So the match got underway with Tyler Bate and Xavier Woods started off. The crowd in London ended up chanting, welcome back to Tyler Bate. So both Woods and Bate end up locking up. Bate ended up wrenching Xavier Woods' arms. He then ended up dropping down and grapevine Xavier Woods' head. Bate then climbed up the ropes and he tagged Pete Dunne in. Tyler Bate ended up taking Xavier Woods down. Pete Dunne then connected with a clothesline to Woods. Pete Dunne ended up contorting Woods' arm and he started stomping away on Woods' arm. Bate ended up tagging in. He leapt over Pete Dunne for a rolling senton on Xavier Woods. Kofi ended up charging into the ring because Tyler Bate ended up blowing a kiss to Kofi. But Bate ended up giving Kofi a back body drop over the top rope. Pete Dunne ended up taking Kofi out with a flying knee off the apron. Tyler Bate then ended up flooring Woods with a somersault plancha, which was cool. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Xavier Woods was in control of the match, and he started choking Pete Dunne on the ropes. Woods then drop kicked Dunne against the ropes. He ended up going for the cover, to which Dunne ended up kicking out. Woods then ended up kicking Dunne in the head. Dunne responded back with some chops to Woods. Woods then floored Dunne with the forearm to his head, and he tagged Kofi in. Woods then ended up holding Pete Dunne on the bottom rope, and Kofi ended up hitting a senton splash to Pete Dunne. Kofi headed to the top rope, and he hit a diving axe handle to Pete Dunne, to which he went for the cover, and Dunne ended up kicking out. Dunne started to fight up. He ended up reaching for a tag to tag in Tyler Bate, but Kofi ended up holding Pete Dunne back. Kofi then sent Pete Dunne to the corner, but Pete Dunne backflipped over Kofi and finally got the tag to Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate ended up hitting Kofi with a clothesline and a back elbow. He then ended up knocking Woods off the apron. Tyler Bate ended up catching Kofi and ended up hitting an explorer suplex, and that was followed up by a kip up from Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate then ended up lifting Kofi up, and Tyler Bate did his, airplane spin, spinning Kofi around, which it was good to see the airplane spin again. So Tyler Bate ended up slamming Kofi down. Pete Dunne tagged in. We had the New Catch Republic sandwiched Kofi with some kicks. Both Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne ended up hitting a double team clothesline German suplex combo onto Kofi, which was very cool. Nice combo there. So Pete Dunne ended up going for the cover. Xavier Woods ended up breaking up the pin. Woods then took Tyler Bate down. Pete Dunne then ended up attacking Woods, and he ended up snapping Woods' fingers. Kofi then wiped Pete Dunne out with the SOS. He ended up going for the cover, to which Pete Dunne kicked out. So at the end of the match, we had Woods end up dropping Tyler Bate on the apron, but Pete Dunne ended up stunning Woods with a knee. We had Xavier Woods end up tagging Kofi in, and the New Day ended up hitting the Daybreak on Tyler Bate. So we had Kofi end up going for the cover on Tyler Bate, and there you go. The New Day ended up winning the match. And Tyler Bate takes his loss after, coming back tonight. Post-match, Kathy Kelly ended up stopping the New Day on the ramp. Kathy Kelly ended up congratulating both Woods and Kofi on the win over New Catch Republic. And Kathy Kelly ended up asking them if tonight's win further cements their belief that they deserve a shot at the tag team titles, at the World Tag Team titles. So Xavier Woods ended up asking Kathy Kelly if she's slow. He ended up saying that they deserve the title shot since day one. Kofi ended up demanding what they are owed and that they deserve it. And while Kofi was saying this, you saw Xavier Woods had like a death stare at somebody in the crowd, like he was he was staring at a death stare at somebody in the crowd. So Kofi ended up saying that they want the World Tag Team Championship. So then this brought out the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Eric and Ivar ended up going face to face with the New Day. They held up the World Tag Team Championship, and the New Day ended up walking off. But overall, very good match between the New Day and New Catch Republic. Really am glad that Tyler Bate is back, and that New Catch Republic, is finally back together with Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Because if you remember, Pete Dunne, he was, a heel, and the only reason why that they turned him heel is for them to wait for Tyler Bate to come back. overall, good match, and hopefully they build up New Catch Republic. So then we saw Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso was shown taping up for his match against Gunther, and Mr. Yeet, Jey Uso, ended up walking up to his brother. Jey ended up saying to Jimmy that he'd feel better if he were out there with Jimmy. Jimmy ended up saying that tonight is a bit different. He ended up saying that he knows the world is doubting Jey, but he's going to go out and close that noise. He ended up saying that Gunther is a big deal, but so is Jey, and so is him. So Jimmy ended up saying that there is no ring general tonight. There's just a man who is beatable. Jimmy ended up saying that tonight he'll beat Gunther. And at WrestleMania, Jey will beat Gunther and become World Heavyweight Champion. So both Jimmy and Jey end up embracing each other. Jey then pulled Jimmy close to him. He ended up saying, "I hear you. Just be careful." And pretty much that was basically that. And then we had the match. We had Jimmy Uso versus Gunther. And this was a good match here. We had Gunther pretty much working over Jimmy here. He was pretty much carrying Jimmy through the match. So the match got underway. Gunther smiled at Jimmy. Jimmy ended up connecting with some punches to Gunther and a chop. He then knocked Gunther into the corner. Gunther then exploded out of the corner and laid out Jimmy with a big boot. Gunther then threw Jimmy out of the ring, and he ended up whipping Jimmy into the barricade. Gunther then delivered a chop to Jimmy's chest. Gunther then ended up chopping Jimmy around ringside. He ended up driving Jimmy back into the barricade. Gunther then got into the ring to break up the ref's count. Gunther then pulled Jimmy's mouth and started talking trash to him. Gunther ended up setting up for a powerbomb to Jimmy on the floor, but Jimmy countered and he laid out Gunther with a back body drop. Jimmy ended up punching Gunther off the apron and he had a suicide dive, to which Gunther's face slammed off the commentary table when Jimmy hit that suicide dive. Jimmy then got Gunther back into the ring, and Jimmy headed to the top rope. Jimmy ended up going for USO splash, but Gunther got his knees up. Gunther headed to the top rope, but Jimmy cut Gunther off with a right hand. Jimmy climbed the ropes and connected with a superplex to Gunther. Very nice spot there with Jimmy delivering that superplex. Jimmy then ended up going to the top rope, and he hit the USO splash to Gunther. Jimmy then ended up going for the cover, and Gunther kicked out. Gunther ended up going to ringside to recover. Jimmy ended up jumping off the steps for an attack to Gunther, but Gunther chopped Jimmy out of midair. You heard that chop echo throughout the arena. Gunther then ended up slamming Jimmy on the apron, and he ended up pinning a lariat on the floor to Jimmy. A very vicious lariat from Gunther. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Gunther started taunting Jimmy and allowed him to pull himself up. Jimmy ended up blocking a chop from Gunther, and he slapped Gunther in the face, just like last week backstage. Jimmy ended up connecting with some strikes to Gunther and then a super kick. He then followed up the super kick with a German suplex to Gunther. Jimmy then connected with another super kick to Gunther. Jimmy then sized Gunther up. He charged at Gunther, but Gunther ended up wiping Jimmy out with a drop kick. Gunther then followed up with a powerbomb. He then ended up going for the cover on Jimmy, but Gunther ended up pulling Jimmy's shoulders up. Gunther then started talking trash to Jimmy, and he booted Jimmy in the face, and then delivered a lariat to Jimmy, which looked nasty. So Gunther went for the cover again. Gunther pulled Jimmy's shoulder up again. So Gunther ended up standing over Jimmy. He chopped Jimmy's back. Gunther then applied the sleeper hold on Jimmy. And the referee ended up checking on Jimmy. He called for the bell. So there you go. Gunther ended up winning the match. Post-match, Gunther put the World Heavyweight Championship around his waist. He ended up going to leave the ring, but he then turned around. And he wasn't done with Jimmy. Gunther then grabbed Jimmy and applied the sleeper hold again on him. So this led to Jey Uso run down. Jey ended up taking Gunther down and started punching away at him. Gunther then rolled out of the ring, but Jey ended up following him out. And Gunther then retreated through the crowd. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we saw Jey helping out, Jimmy. He helped him to the back. So then Gunther then attacked Jey from behind. Gunther then ended up sending Jey hard into the ring steps, and he chopped away at Jey's chest. Officials and security ended up running down as Gunther was sent up to hit a powerbomb to Jey on the steel steps. Gunther then attacked one of the guards, and he gave him a powerbomb on the steps, the steel steps. Gunther then took out one of the other guards. So Gunther then grabbed a zip tie from one of the guards. Gunther then ended up putting the zip tie around Jey's wrists. So Gunther started ripping at Jey's eyes, and he ended up attaching Jey to the middle rope. So Jey was defenseless with the zip ties on him. So Gunther ended up grabbing Jimmy. He ended up whipping Jimmy hard into the barricade. He then kicked Jey and grabbed the World Heavyweight Championship. So Jey was trying to get into the ring, but he couldn't get far from the middle rope. Gunther then started taunting Jey. He kept saying that Jey will never get the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther then turned and he saw Jimmy getting on the apron. So Gunther ended up smashing Jimmy with the World Heavyweight Championship. So Gunther then ended up telling Jey to look at what he did to his brother. So as Jimmy crawled back into the ring, he was all bloodied up. He was busted open from that World Heavyweight Championship shot from Gunther. So Gunther ended up holding Jimmy's face up for Jey to see. Gunther then delivered a massive powerbomb to Jimmy. Jey was desperately trying to break the zip tie, but Gunther started laying in some clubs to Jimmy's head, and Gunther was covering his forearm in Jimmy's blood. And this was disgusting here. Gunther ended up licking Jimmy's blood, and then he spit it out. And that was crazy for Gunther. Gunther is one sick son of a bitch for doing that. Licking the blood and spitting it out. So Jey ended up grabbing at Jimmy, but Gunther ended up pulling Jimmy back and applied the sleeper hold once again on Jimmy. Jimmy was gushing more blood from his forehead. He had like a crimson mask on his face from all that blood. So officials end up getting to the ring. He got Gunther to release the sleeper hold. Jey ended up cradling his brother's head, and Gunther was covered in Jimmy's blood as he held up the World Heavyweight Championship. But overall, this was a very crazy segment here with Gunther, putting the zip tie on Jey and zip tying him to the middle rope as he pretty much destroyed Jimmy Uso and bloodied him up really badly. But this is what this feud needed, in my opinion. We needed a little oomph in this feud after we saw Jimmy slap Gunther last week backstage. But overall, good match it was between Gunther and Jimmy. And like I said, really enjoyed what happened post-match here. Now we saw Finn Balor. Finn Balor was talking with Dominic and Carlito. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the women's tag team champions, end up walking in. Balor ended up saying that brothers fight like cats and dogs. he kept saying now the talk of adding a new member is behind them. Balor ended up telling Raquel that she had a tough loss, but it'll bring home the Intercontinental Championship. So Raquel ended up telling Carlito to go away because Balor and Dominic Mysterio walked off, and Carlito was just staring at Raquel. So Liv Morgan ended up telling Raquel that they need to do something about Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, to which Raquel ended up agreeing with Liv. So pretty much that was basically that. Then we have Penta and Bron Breakker. They have taken on the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. Of course, they were accompanied by Carlito. And this was a decent match here. Before the match got underway, we saw Bron Breakker and Penta. They were arguing a bit because Penta, wants the Intercontinental Championship. He wants a shot at it. So it's the whole, can they coexist with Penta and Bron Breakker? So Penta started off the match against Dominic Mysterio. Balor started ripping away at Penta's mask, which that allowed Dominic to attack Penta from behind. A distraction there. Dominic started stomping away at Penta, and Penta ended up wiping out Dominic with a Hurricanrana. Bron Breakker then tagged in, and he shoulder tackled Dominic. Bron Breakker then ended up hitting a military press slam on Dominic. He was going for a second military press slam, but Dominic ended up avoiding that one, and he tagged Finn Balor in. Balor ended up sending Breakker into the ropes. He ended up going for a leapfrog, but Breakker countered with a power slam to Balor. Breakker then ended up attacking Balor in the corner, and he tagged Penta in. Penta then started kicking Balor in his head, and he ended up hitting a handstand slingshot corner dropkick, which looked cool. Dominic then ran in, but Penta ended up hitting a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker to Dominic. Bron Breakker then clotheslined Dominic over the top rope, to which Penta ended up hitting the ropes. He connected with the tope con hilo on both Dominic and Balor. So, pretty much, Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Balor was in control of the match. He started attacking Penta in the corner. Dominic tagged in. Dominic ended up hitting some shoulder thrust to Penta. Dominic then connected with a snapmare to Penta. Balor then tagged in, and he ended up hitting a slingshot stomp to Penta. Dominic then tagged back in, hit a slingshot somersault senton to Penta, to which he ended up going for the cover, to which Penta kicked out. Dominic then pulled Penta up, and Dominic started up the Three Amigos. So he hit the first one, he hit the second one, and then when Dominic tried to hit the third one, Penta countered it. So Dominic ended up kicking Penta and sent him into the corner, but Penta countered with a slingshot backstabber to Dominic. So Bron Breakker and Finn Balor ended up tagging in, so they both ended up going at it here. Breakker ended up hitting a pair of clotheslines on Balor. He then ended up punching Dominic down. Breakker then ended up hitting Balor with an overhead belly-to-belly suplex, so which Dominic ended up meeting the same fate. Breakker ended up hitting the overhead belly-to-belly suplex to Dominic as well. Balor then ended up quickly attacking Breakker, and he attempted a suplex. And Balor couldn't even lift Breakker. So Dominic ended up joining in to suplex Breakker. But Breakker countered, and he delivered a double suplex to both Dominic and Balor. And the crowd really enjoyed that. Breakker then ended up pulling the straps down, and he lifted Balor up. Balor then ended up breaking Breakker's eyes, and he ended up hitting the ropes. Breakker ended up following Balor in, and he hit the ropes hard for a clothesline. Penta then tagged in. Breakker then ended up putting Balor in the electric chair position. Penta flew off the top rope with a reverse sling blade on Balor out of the electric chair. So Penta ended up going for the cover on Balor, to which Dominic ended up breaking up the pin. So at the end of the match, we had Penta end up fighting Dominic off. He ended up going for a leaping destroyer, but Dominic ended up grabbing Penta's leg. Balor ended up turning, and he stared as he waited for Breakker to charge for a spear. So Dominic then shoved Penta into Bron Breaker's path. So Breaker accidentally ended up hitting Penta with the spear. So Dominic then knocked Breaker out of the ring. Balor connected with the coup de grace on Penta. So Balor ended up going for the cover. And there you go. The Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio ended up winning the match. And Penta takes his first pinfall loss since coming to WWE. But overall, decent match this was between the Judgment Day, Penta, and Bron Breakker. And then we saw Chad Gable. Chad Gable was with Adam Pearce. Gable was putting over El Grande Americano, which is himself, Chad Gable. Pearce ended up saying that Gable is still sick. Of course, Gable was coughing, all like that. Gable ended up giving Adam Pearce another doctor's note. Pearce ended up saying, well, that's a shame, because next week Raw is in Minneapolis, which is Chad Gable's hometown. Gable ended up saying that he wants to compete in his hometown. But Adam Pearce sarcastically ended up saying that Gable's health is of the utmost importance. So Pearce ended up saying that El Grande Americano will compete on American soil. So Chad Gable was angered by that, and he was walking away. He ended up stopping before the Alpha Academy, his former teammates. So Gable ended up calling them clowns. He ended up calling Otis an idiot. So then he walked out. Maxine Dupree ended up talking to Adam Pearce. She ended up saying that she wants to talk about Otis and Akira Tozawa, and also an idea she has with Natalya. So pretty much I think we're going to get Maxine Dupree teaming up with Natalya. I'm like, if that happens, who was asking for that? And Maxine Dupree is still a thing in WWE. Please. No tag team with Natalya and Maxine Dupree. Nobody's asking for it, and it'll be completely fucking awful. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we saw Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was preparing to interview Bron Breakker, but the interview was broken up by Penta, who was furious because Breakker ended up spearing him. So Penta was held back by officials. Penta ended up calling Breakker stupid and initiated that he speared him on purpose. But pretty much that was that. It looks like we're going to get Penta versus Bron Breakker now. And then we saw AJ Styles. Styles was in the ring. Styles got on the mic. He mentioned that Logan Paul said he would call him out, but he's tired of waiting. Styles ended up saying that if Paul has something to say to his face, he could come out and say it right now. To which Logan Paul came out. He got go-away heat from the London crowd because nobody wants to see Logan Paul. So Logan Paul ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying that Styles wouldn't understand because he doesn't have the same level of fame. He ended up saying that as a global phenomenon who is extremely rich, loved by everyone, yeah, sure, and good looking, everyone is on his time. So Styles ended up laughing at that because it's a joke. Yeah, Logan Paul is loved by everyone. Who? 5-year-olds? 6-year-olds? Logan Paul ended up saying that if he wants to make the crowd wait, they'll do as they're told because they're sheep, and he will wait. So Logan Paul was cut off by a shut the fuck up chant from the crowd there in London. Logan Paul ended up saying that he's had a change of heart. He's a girl dad now, and is trying to teach his daughter the art of forgiveness. He ended up saying that he forgives Styles for what he did to him at Madison Square Garden. However, he ended up saying that he doesn't forget, so he had better not do that again. So Styles was like, are you kidding me? I have a daughter, and I forgive you as well. So Logan Paul was all confused. He kept asking why Styles forgives him. Styles ended up saying, I forgive you, Logan Paul, for being the biggest douchebag to ever step foot in a WWE ring. To which the crowd ended up liking that. Styles ended up saying that Logan Paul brags about his success and money, and that the fans don't care about that. They care about what you're willing to sacrifice in the ring for them. He ended up saying that Logan Paul has all the talent in the world, but in this business, talent will only get you so far. So he was like to Logan Paul, what are you doing with it? Logan Paul ended up saying that he asked Styles advice, but they say you shouldn't take advice from people you wouldn't want to trade places with. Logan Paul ended up telling London that they're broke. So Styles ended up telling Logan Paul to not write a check his ass can't cash. So Logan Paul ended up asking Styles, oh, is that a threat? So Styles was like, this is Monday Night Raw. We're in London, England. Styles ended up saying to Logan Paul that he has his gear on, and he is standing in the middle of the ring. So what do you think? Logan Paul ended up saying that he thinks he's done talking. Logan Paul ended up saying that he does not fight for free, and that London can't afford him, and that the city is broke. So Logan started pointing to people in the crowd, saying, oh, you're poor. You're poor. So Logan Paul ended up saying that Styles wants the big money match with Logan Paul. Maybe he should set his sights a little higher. So Logan Paul ended up pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Logan Paul then ended up going for a kick to Styles, but Styles blocked it. Styles started punching away at Logan Paul. He ended up going for the Styles Clash, but Logan Paul got out of the ring. Styles ended up following Logan Paul out, and he ended up ducking a right hand from Logan Paul. Styles then ended up slamming Logan Paul's face off the commentary table, and he put Logan Paul back into the ring. Logan Paul then quickly snapped the rope into Styles' groin, and Logan Paul then connected with the pulverizer to Styles. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. But needless to say, I did not care about anything here between Styles and Logan Paul. I'm like, this is the best they got for Styles? And what I mentioned earlier about Adam Pearce going on social media, he confirmed the match here. It's going to be AJ Styles versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania. So, like I said, this was confirmed by Adam Pearce on WWE's social media after the segment ended. So, we're getting Logan Paul and AJ Styles at WrestleMania. And then we saw Jackie Redmond. Jackie Redmond was backstage with Lyra Valkyria, the Women's Intercontinental Champion. Jackie Redmond ended up asking about Lyra's next moves. Lyra ended up thanking Bayley for having her back. Lyra ended up telling Jackie Redmond that concerning the Women's Intercontinental Championship, she wants to prove she can stand on her own 2 feet. She ended up saying that Bayley is the one person who has beaten her since she's held the Women's Intercontinental Championship. She ended up saying that it's driving her crazy. And next week, she will battle Bayley with the Women's Intercontinental Championship on the line. So there you go. Again, Lyra versus Bayley for the Women's Intercontinental Championship next week on Monday Night Raw. If you want your bathroom break, there you go. So they end up saying what we're going to see next week on Raw, which is going to be from Minneapolis. It's going to be, of course, Lyra versus Bayley, Women's Intercontinental Championship on the line. El Grande Americano is appearing next week, of course. And Seth Rollins will appear. So that's all set for Monday Night Raw next week in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then we saw the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day was celebrating backstage, since Balor and Dominic defeated Bron Breakker and Penta earlier in the night. Balor ended up saying that he beat Penta and got the better of Bron Breakker for the second week in a row. Balor ended up saying that he's on the roll, and he will talk to Adam Pearce about a Intercontinental Championship match. So Balor walked off. Liv Morgan then ended up telling Dominic that Balor is taking credit for the victory, when Dominic worked just as hard. So Liv Morgan ended up saying that she'll talk to Adam Pearce as soon as Balor is done talking with him, which led to Dominic being all confused, like, what? But that was basically that. Main event, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. This was for the Women's World Championship. This is a rematch. And Bianca Belair is the special guest referee. And this was not good, in my opinion. This wasn't a good match. So both Rhea Ripley and Io end up locking up. Io ended up applying a side headlock. They started tussling against the ropes. Bianca counted, and she started separating the both of them. Both Rhea and Io locked up again. Rhea ended up powering Sky to the corner, and she had pinned some shoulder thrusts to Sky. Rhea then started punching away at Sky before Bianca ended up pulling Rhea away. And Rhea was not happy with Bianca pulling her away. Io ended up jumping on Rhea and knocked her to the corner, and she started punching away at her. Bianca then pulled Sky off rather than disqualifying Io for, violating, the 5 count. Because, at the count of 5, if they don't, start punching each other in the corner, it's a disqualification. Io ended up applying a side headlock to Rhea. Rhea ended up whipping Io off and followed her into the ropes. Rhea ended up going to pick Io's ankle, but Io ended up dropping down on Rhea. And both of them going back and forth with pin attempts, which I hate when they do that. Which, they roll up in there. It's like 1, 2. Another one rolls 1, 2. They roll back again 1, 2. Roll back 1, 2. I hate when they do that because we all know when they do that, nobody's going to get a pin. Stop doing these back and forth pin attempts. They're stupid. So, Io ended up hitting the ropes. She ended up doing double handspring, and then she ended up hitting a drop kick to Rhea. Rhea ended up bouncing off the ropes, and she clotheslined Io down. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Rhea was unhappy with a pin count from Bianca. Rhea ended up getting in Bianca's face. She then turned back to Io. Io ended up delivering some strikes to Rhea, which was followed by a running drop kick. Rhea then ended up reversing the whip into the corner, but Io ended up knocking her back with a pendulum kick. We had, later on, Rhea Ripley ended up hitting like a somewhat Samoan drop off the second rope to Io, but Io was supposed to counter into a crucifix slam, so that was kind of a botch there. So Io ended up going for the cover, to which Rhea ended up kicking out. We had, in the end of the match, Rhea ended up swatting at Bianca's face, and she ended up throwing jewelry at her because there was a point where Rhea ended up going for a German suplex, but Io ended up doing a stand switch. Rhea ended up elbowing Io away. She ended up going for a big boot, but Io ended up moving out of the way, and Rhea ended up hitting Bianca instead, knocking her out of the ring. So Io ended up rolling Rhea Ripley up, but Rhea rolled through, and she ended up kicking Io in the head. Rhea then connected with the riptide. Of course, Bianca Belair was still out of the ring because Rhea ended up going for the cover. Bianca was out of the ring. So Bianca got to her feet, and she yelled at Rhea. Rhea was shouting for Bianca to get into the ring. And as Bianca ended up entering the ring, Rhea ended up going for the cover, to which Io kicked out. So Rhea got in Bianca's face. Bianca shoved Rhea away. Io ended up grabbing Rhea, but Rhea ended up taking Io down and started punching away at her. Bianca then ripped Rhea away. Rhea then swatted at Bianca's face, and that's when she threw the other jewelry at her. Rhea then realized, what she did, and Rhea turned and avoided a missile dropkick from Io, and that hit Bianca instead. So Bianca called for the bell, and she signaled that the match end in a double disqualification, to which it did. So because of this, Io retains the Women's World Championship, obviously. So post-match, Rhea Ripley was irate, and she ended up attacking Bianca at ringside. Io then ended up taking both Bianca and Rhea out with a SI moonsault. Io ended up getting Rhea Ripley in the ring and started punching away at her. Bianca then got into the ring and attacked Io before punching away at her. Rhea then pulled Bianca off and she headbutted Bianca before connecting with a riptide to Bianca. Rhea then ended up hitting Io with the riptide. And so pretty much we had Rhea Ripley end up getting back in the ring. She grabbed Bianca by her braid. Rhea then pulled Bianca up to the second rope, and she ended up hitting a massive riptide off the second rope, which was cool. Rhea then grabbed the Women's World Championship, and she stood tall. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this was not a good match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky here. Obviously, predictable. We knew it was going to go to a double disqualification because neither of these women could lose. But obviously, we are going to get Rhea Ripley in the match against Io and Bianca at WrestleMania for the Women's World Championship. It's going to come. It's going to come. But overall, Monday Night Raw, very good show it was tonight. Really enjoy it, and it progressed the build towards some of these WrestleMania matches. Better build than what we have gotten over the past weeks. But anyway, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.